In the heart of San Francisco, another AI robotics company. But this company, Foundation Robotics, is different for one very important reason.
Police!
You guys are some of the first in saying that, yeah, these things will be used as soldiers.
We think it's actually quite crazy that other people are not doing it. That is an issue specifically in the Western world. There are spokespeople from the Chinese Communist Party who are saying that you're not going to beat us on defense and robotics. We would deploy AI weaponized weapons faster than you will. If nobody was doing it, that would be one thing. But you can't just have one side do it.
Sankeet Pathak is Foundation's CEO. He says their plan is to build robots capable of anything a human can do, including building and operating new cities on Earth, the Moon, and Mars. But when it comes to defense and the possibility of robot soldiers...
Are you planning on arming these types of robots with the types of weapons that soldiers use?
Yeah, eventually that is the goal.
I've been around a lot of robots, and yet the idea of a robot with a gun. Why do you guys think that's a good idea?
All of the compunctions that people have, which are very fair, which is what if you end up hurting civilians? We already have weapons that do that. Drones do that disproportionately because they're not precise weapons. They essentially go and bulldoze an entire building down. If you want war to be more fair and more precise, you need land-based autonomy. There's just no two ways to it.
2 of these were already sent to Ukraine, right?
We sent 2 robots to Ukraine. They were more so for logistical work, but we're not afraid of doing the weaponized work. We think actually there are lots of scenarios where it's quite detrimental if you don't do. A really good example of that is Ukraine. If you actually were able to send a lot of robots onto the front lines, I think the outcome of the war would be significantly different.
But on the front lines of Ukraine, the bounds of AI being used to kill have already been crossed. For now, human oversight is still needed. But at Foundation, technical solutions to that problem are being considered.
You're going to have some small scenarios where the reaction times need to be so fast, not because it would destroy the robot, but because it would hurt the civilians if it's not.
It sounds like in certain cases, you're okay with the use of autonomous action in that kill chain.
So you're going to have robots that have the potential of doing good things for humanity, and you're going to have robots that have potentials of doing bad things for humanity. We don't think the line in the sand is as simple as weaponized, not weaponized, autonomous, not autonomous. It's significantly more nuanced, and it's a lot of hard work. And our goal is to try to balance that and walk through it.
Do you have internal guardrails that you are not willing to cross?
For us, the principle is on net, do we think the technology is doing good or not? And if there are use cases where we think there's going to be hard to do more good than bad, we would just shy away from doing that.
The company isn't talking about how much they've raised or their valuation, but its chief strategy advisor is Eric Trump, and Foundation has been granted a $24 million Pentagon contract to test Phantom with human Marines.
You bring in AI autonomy, it's going to change industry, it's going to change military application, it's going to change hospitality. The uses are unlimited, and I think it's a very beautiful thing.
After the deal was announced, Senator Elizabeth Warren posted on X, "Is the Pentagon just a cash machine for Trump's kids now? This looks like corruption in plain sight."
Have you had direct discussions with members of the Trump family on how these robots should be used?
We've had discussions with Eric, since he's an advisor to the company, about the strategy and the direction. Eric's not really involved on the contract discussions, negotiations. We want to win them on merit. We think that's the right thing for America. So whenever we're doing those, we just do them ourselves.
For now, the company says the vast majority of their revenue comes from non-government contracts for things like auto assembly lines, and the robots they're making, they say, will help humans. But the ethical implications of a fully capable humanoid robot have yet to be seen.
We're standing next to Phantom here. On one hand, you're saying you're building this to make life better, but you're also building this to be able to kill life if it is a threat.
I mean, my long-term goal with Foundation is we have this opportunity in our hands where AI and autonomy and robots can do all the rough, tumble, hard jobs that today are constraints for us. And I think if we create that future, everyone's going to have a house. Everyone's going to have really good food. everyone's going to have free education, everyone's going to have good health care. Anytime you build a great city, you have to be able to defend it. So in the long term, that's the goal for foundation. That's what we really want to do. And defense is a crucial skill to learn. Like, we cannot be naive about it and think that it's not an important skill to learn. If that's the future we want to create, the very first thing that's going to happen when you create that future is people are going to try to invade it and pillage it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.